Welcome to another episode of Hanging Out for a Living, this channel where we dive in deep, actually take a really deep dive into the fascinating lives and stories of individuals who are really making an impact in their fields. So today we have the privilege of actually sitting down with Deb Cleveland, who is a powerhouse in the world of real estate investment and community revitalization. I also know that Deb's superpower is being a real estate investress. So, with over 3 decades of experience, Deb is not your typical property investor. She's passionate. She's a passionate mentor. She's a community builder, a fixer flipper. I don't want to say that 3 times. Dedicated to transforming houses into homes and breathing life into just small town communities. Her journey from a thriving 7-figure business to leading a revolution in community revitalization is nothing short of inspiring. We're excited to learn more about her unique approach to real estate and her commitment to changing the world one property at a time. Welcome, Deb.
Oh, Teresa, thank you so much for that introduction and for asking me to be here. It's such a privilege and honor to be here with Hanging Out for a Living.
Well, we're grateful that you've taken time away from your really busy schedule and traded your tool belt today for being here with us. We'll respect your time. So let's dive right into the questions that I'm going to be asking you. So your LinkedIn bio mentions your focus on creating warm, colorful, and affordable designer homes for first-time buyers in small town communities. Can you share with our audience what inspired you to take this unique approach to real estate investment, and what kind of impact have you seen it make on those communities?
Wow, that's such a great question, Teresa. So I'd been a real estate investor since 29 years old, and I retired financially free, thinking I was getting out of the fixing and flipping business and being a real estate investor and business owner, only to find out within literally 2 weeks that it was a bad idea for me to retire. So I did take some time and I did a really deep spiritual dive for myself. And during that time, I was led to a small town just 45 minutes outside of Rochester, New York, called Geneva, New York. And when I got there, it was just this very deeply holy experience for me. And I knew that I was meant to serve there, like do sacred stewardship there. And when I got there, it had been just after the 2008 crash. And what I discovered when I was there is that that particular city and many cities at that time across the country had been blighted with the crash. And what was a double whammy is that not only were there a lot of foreclosures and all kinds of disruption in the real estate industry, that particular city had been riddled with slumlords. So it was like a double whammy hit on this gorgeous city that lays along Seneca Lake. It has one of the wealthiest colleges in the country there. So I was there and I study things. I'm a study of spirituality, of real estate, of business, of consciousness. And I could really see that there was a couple of things that were calling me. And one was that I noticed we were losing 2 audiences to other cities and towns in Geneva, New York. We were losing our retirees because they wanted to retire into like a condo. They didn't want to own a home anymore.
Sure.
And then we were losing these first-time home buyers because when they arrived in Geneva, very hopeful to buy their home, they discovered that all this inventory needed a ton of work. So in seeing that, I thought, okay, so let me put together a small crew, which, I came out of retirement, and that's one of the things that I'm creating a movement around is just do one for fun. If you're a retiree watching this and you're a woman and you love doing do-it-yourself projects, just do one for fun, because on that fateful day, when I sat on the bench in a blizzard overlooking Seneca Lake, I looked up and I said to God, I'm tired. I'd built 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. I'd raised my son as a single parent. And I said, okay, I'll do one for fun. And it started a renaissance in Geneva, New York. I mean, that was the beginning of really resurrecting that city. And I really feel, Teresa, there must have been a star in the sky because truly there was four other people that were retired, had a real affinity and interest in real estate investing, hadn't been developers before, but we all jumped in. The other miraculous and beautiful thing that happened was that at the time up to that point, it had really poor government and leadership, and that completely turned over inside of the first 3 months I was there. So so many perfect, it was like a perfect storm experience there. And we dug in, and it became hopeless at times because there was so much work to be done, but we kept at it. And I knew from working in other neighborhoods in Rochester that it typically takes about 10 years to really turn things around. You have to have that long-term vision. And that's always been my path as a business owner. It's never, ever been about getting rich quick. It's about being divinely aligned with the gifts you've been given this lifetime and put them into action around a business that you're passionate about. And real estate investing has been one of mine.
Such a beautiful story. And I'm certain that once people hear Geneva, New York, it's going to blow up on Google Maps, right? Everybody's going to be searching for it, and rightfully so, because it's absolutely stunning,
Yes.
absolutely beautiful region of upstate New York. So, you, my friend, have single handedly flipped over 400 units and currently own and maintain more than about 80 rental properties here in upstate New York. That's a rather impressive portfolio. Could you walk us through some of the key strategies you've employed to achieve such success, especially in the aftermath, as you had said, of the 2008 economic crash?
Yes. So one of the things, the tools that I've used, and I call it the God-powered system or the greatness potentiation system, is that I was so fortunate being a single parent. I had a lot of time at night to read. I'm a
Mm.
self-educated gal. I didn't go to college. And everything I read by the great spiritual leaders, and it's biblical as well, is that without a vision, you will perish. So one of the things is getting really clear about what is your overall financial objective. And I feel that there's like a quantum shift when you really put your stake in the ground.
Yeah.
And when I put my stake in the ground, Teresa, I said, and I laughed out loud because I was so poor at the time. I said, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I remember I just felt like, this is so ridiculous and sublime, but why not go for it? Right.
Right.
So I was really clear about my number. And then I'm very practical. So I reverse engineered it. Like, how many properties do I need to own to meet this financial objective within 15 years? Because mortgages are 15 years long. It just made sense to me. And I gave myself the first 3 years to actually build the portfolio and then maintain it. And then as I got into the business, and I had so much fun, they were like my big art projects. And I started meeting these. At first, I really served my sacred stewardship was for single women with children that were on Section 8. That was my first affinity in Rochester, New York, where I actually housed over 84 of these gals. And I became very proficient and an expert in finding duplexes that matched their needs. Like it gave them an opportunity to raise their children well. They had basements with laundry facilities, so they didn't have to go out and drag their kids to laundromats.
Oh, yeah.
They had nice backyards, which the kids could play in, and they were far enough off the street where it was safe for the children and them as well. So there was this real consciousness when I went shopping for real estate. And I was just struck by how many slumlords were out there. It just was really on my heart to make a difference, make a difference in these
Sure.
women's lives. And oh my God, I'm going to cry because I still have them reaching out to me. And we both cry on the phone because they said, you changed my life. You really cared about me as a tenant and my children. And these were in C neighborhoods. These were not in A+ neighborhoods. These were
Right.
burgeoning B neighborhoods. That's what I really do is I go in and renovate the house so it's a beautiful home for them to live in. Depending upon where I've been in this journey, like when I was
Sure.
young, I didn't have a lot of money, but I could offer a well-maintained, clean freshly painted property. And now what I do is deep dive renovations. But what I want to say to people, especially women, is just do one. Just do one for fun. Just start with one, because it's like having your first child, right? If you
Right.
decide like I'm going to get pregnant with this house, this one, give yourself 9 months to understand all the mechanics of a house. Just hire one. I love moonlighters. I work mostly with moonlighter
Sure.
retirees, that help maintain the property. I have one gentleman, I'm going to mention his name. His name's Gary Hoagland. He's been with me for over 30 years.
Oh,
He
wow.
I just did a furnace went down on one of my properties here in Rochester, and I reached out to Gary and he was right there, and he goes, "We're getting kind of old for this." I said, "Maybe you are." But really, just as Teresa, it starts with a big vision, and then you back into the first step. But you continue no matter what happens. Like with a child, if they're teething, we don't give up on that child. If they're throwing
Right.
temper tantrum, like if the furnace goes down, it's like a temper tantrum in a house. We don't give up on that house. We just keep continuing. And it's so interesting how real estate has gotten such a bad name, but it's gotten a bad name because of the people that haven't taken care of their properties. And it doesn't mean you have to do, granite countertops and new everything. It's really caring about and addressing maintenance issues when they come up in the moment, because that tenant's scared. Something's happened, whether it's the light bulb went out or the faucet's dripping or the sewage backed up in the basement. Get
Hmm.
right back to them, because then it snuffs out that panic, and then take care of it inside of the first couple of hours, and no more than 24 hours on any maintenance issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love your vision and I love how um, you just pull it all together and how you don't have to have the whole picture. Just take that one step, right? And then the next one will appear and you take that step. It's absolutely brilliant. Um, so Deb, your work actually extends beyond real estate. It extends into coaching clients and mentees, right? So it's absolutely incredible to hear about your clients' successes, from creative flipping to building multi-million dollar portfolios. Could you tell us a little bit more about the role of mentorship and what it plays in your mission, and what advice you have for those looking to start their own journey in real estate investment?
I wish I had a Deb Cleveland when I started. I would have started, it would have been a lot easier. I would have understood this is just a little bump in the road, not a big, cabin that I, fell into.
Yeah.
Um, so in mentoring my clients, one of the things, and I just kind of went over that, is that when I say, what is your overall financial objective for investing in real estate, whether it's just to do your first flip during a retirement, maybe it's just to have fun, learn something new, make a difference, and make money too. That's kind of my little slogan, right? For retirees, just do one. So during that time, they have a lot of questions, because you become a general practitioner. Like, their fear is, I'm going to get in over my head.
Sure.
And I'm there for them. Like if they go into the house and they did all the I teach them how to do the evaluation on the house, like take a look at everything. I also give them cheat sheets, like this is the range of what this will cost to repair or replace the kitchen cabinet, the floor, the light fixtures, the door pulls, the toilet, the vanity, the medicine cabinet, the faucets, all these little tiny things. And then they pull together on the cheat sheet, it kind of gives them blocks, like this is the average for the first time home buyer budget to do a house. These are the resources that I use. They get on the call and they'll have a lot of questions, because I have a call with them once a week around what they've learned, because there's always a training that goes on for them. I teach them everything from where to look for properties, how to find properties that are off market, how to evaluate a piece of property, how to negotiate a deal, like when you go into a deal, how to do owner financing. If you're a first time home buyer, or if you're a first time investor, maybe you don't have a lot of money to start with. I didn't at first, but I had a lot of folks that trusted me and they offered owner financing. So I was able to get into many of my properties with little to no money down. That they needed work. They weren't really marketable at the time. That's why they were
Sure.
willing to owner financing. But during those calls, like one of my clients, I absolutely love this woman, and I won't mention her name here because she'll flip out if I do. But she stalked me at auctions. And I finally turned around and I go, "You're stalking me." She goes, "I am." She goes, "I'm so fascinated by you." And I said, what do you want?" And she was retired. And she said, "I
Hmm.
want to be a real estate investor. I want to fix and flip properties." And what was interesting about this gal is that she had a bum leg. She had, her finances were tight, and she trusted me, and we made a commitment. This was like 14 years ago. She's still fixing and flipping and investing in real estate
Love
to.
it.
And she found a couple of properties, owner financing, and she didn't believe. She was a non-believer. She was scared all the time. And I'm like, okay, you've got to trust. You've got to trust in yourself. You've got to trust in your mission, your vision.
Absolutely.
And she went on, she found this, the role I played for her in so many ways. I mean, she was probably one of the most challenging clients that I had because she was scared.
Sure.
She brought in the whale. I mean, she was out fishing, all the time, and she
Oh,
she
yeah.
hooked a big one. So she brought in a 5 property investment, and she was clueless as far as, how do I negotiate this? And I said, negotiate no money down, owner financing, because these need work, and this seller will know that it's smart for him not to take money down, because you're going to need that to renovate these houses. It's smart
Absolutely.
for him because he doesn't want you to default. If you're not able to bring these up to a level of livability, by investing your money, the cash that you have on hand, it could hurt him as well. So she said, "Will you jump on the call with me?" I said, "Sure." So she bought all 5 properties with,
Wow.
all she wanted was her to cover the closing costs. It was a no money down deal. She still owns those properties to date. And then as she built her portfolio, she got into the fixing and flipping business, and she does 1 to 2 flips every year.
Wow, that's amazing. So you, Deb, can actually work not with just local people, right? You could work outside of the area as well. Okay, excellent.
Yes, I worked with a gal who, she was fascinating. I knew her husband. We'd been in different groups together as far as like consciousness groups, and she had 5 children under the age of, I think it was 11. And most of the time when she was talking to me, because she actually hired me for some one-on-one work, she would be
Okay.
at the hairdressers, because it was the only time she had. So she'd be like getting her hair done, and she'd be on the call. But she ended up building almost $1 million real estate portfolio, all creative financing in Phoenix, Arizona.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. I love your stories. This is wonderful. And one last question to wrap things up. So you're currently leading a movement called Small Town Dynasty, and focusing on training accomplished women to revitalize overlooked neighborhoods through renovations and revitalizations. We talked about that. Um, what inspired you to start that program? And I know you shared a little bit of the kind of impact you've had on your mentees. Um, and how, can you share a little bit about how your mentees have had, what kind of impact on their communities that they've worked with?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So it was all inspired by one woman. She saw an article was written about me in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I just happened to be on the front page of the Beast section for Saturday, so it was very visible.
Mhm.
And she looked me up, and she said, "I want you to coach me." And I said, "Well, I don't coach or mentor," because I was so busy in Geneva. I mean, I was doing anywhere from 3 to 5 renovations at a time, like really, really dug in there. And she was relentless. She wouldn't leave me alone. She wanted to work with me. So I finally said to her, "Okay, this is the investment. If you want me to work with you one-on-one," which was really insignificant. It was so small. I knew she would make it times 4 on her first flip. And I said, "But this is going to be a really loose, mentoring." I said, "I'll have a very loose outline, and you can shadow me like a half a day, like every other week." And watching this woman come back to life, because she was retired, she was a little depressed, she had been a really powerhouse in her career, and watching the house come back to life, like both, and she invested in the area I was investing in. She
Okay.
went on to do multiple projects. Not her husband, her son was a attorney and cardiologist, and they were naysayers. Mostly family members are naysayers, ladies.
Yes, they are true.
They will not think this is a good idea. And once her son saw what she was doing, and he would come visit with the grandkids, and he got inspired. And she sat down with him because I taught her how to do numbers, like really how to crunch numbers and understand how profitable or unprofitable a property can be, or a multi-unit investment can be. She actually shared that with him and his partners in his practice, and they ended up buying I think it was a 42 unit, many 42 unit apartment complexes from what she learned from me. So I love that it just kept moving that way. And there actually is other women like me that are doing this, but very quietly. I'm being vocal because I really want women to get off, get out from behind their computers, come out of retirement, open your coffers, have some fun, learn something new, and make a difference too.
No, I love how you're inspiring and empowering women, Deb, and also how you are um, motivating and talking about, in retirement. I'm close to retirement, right? And I want to continue to evolve and not revolve, right? As one phase
Yes.
of my life comes to that chapter is closed, right? So now we move on. So, absolutely. Your journey is really an extraordinary example of how passion and dedication and a unique approach can transform not just houses, but entire communities and even the people who pick up the reins and go with it and go for it. Um, if all of you out there, if you're inspired as to, you know, what Deb is doing and her story, her mission, I encourage you to continue the conversation with her. Her contact information can be found in the video description. So reach out and be part of what Deb is doing, her movement. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of Hanging Out for a Living. And remember, change starts at home, one property at a time. Bye, everybody.